Man United have just lost 3-1 to City at the Etihad in what was a very disappointing result for us as United fans. It's bad enough to lose any derby against City, no matter how good or bad we are as a team, but to go up 1-0 in the 8th minute, to keep City quiet till the 56th minute, and then to lose the game like that was heartbreaking. And look, like most of you, I was pretty upset at full time. I know Goldbridge was losing his shit over the refereeing decisions, and other people on social media were Ten Hag out and whatnot like usual, but I didn't want to react in a knee-jerk fashion. I wanted to take some time to really think about that game and gather my thoughts so I can come up with a measured reaction. So it's been a few hours since the full-time whistle, and here are my observations from the game. The first is that we went into the game expecting a spanking, like the 7-0 at Anfield or perhaps something worse. The second is that we pretty much played the whole game under extreme pressure, having to defend most of the time in our own half, as evidenced by this momentum graph right here. And somehow, at the end of the game, we all came away with this feeling of, we could have gotten something here. So when you look at those three observations that I just stated, you have to say United and Ten Hag did better than anybody expected today. There's literally no other way to look at it. From that worldie by Rashford in the 8th minute till Foden's goal in the 56th minute, and even some periods after that till he got his second, United had the City fans, the players, and Pep all sweaty and nervous at the Etihad. There was this ominous feeling of not this again, with flashbacks of that 3-2 loss when Pogba scored twice in the second half back in 2018 to give United an unexpected win at the Etihad. So as difficult as it might be as a United fan to look at the positives from this game, there were some positives. And that's what I'm going to highlight in this video. But before we get into that, here's a quick word from today's sponsor, Post-Op Market. Are you a content creator that's frustrated by the absolute peanuts your social media platform of choice is paying you? Are you looking to generate additional revenue from your content but are struggling to find sponsors? Well, Post-Op Market is the complete solution that you're looking for. Post-Op Market is the only globally available sponsorship marketplace where you can easily market yourself or your content to potential sponsors and forget about the hassles of dealing with agencies and their lofty commissions. So head on over to the link in the video description below and sign up for your very own sponsorship page so you can focus on creating the best content possible while also getting paid what you're worth. For those of you that have been watching United play all season, you know that we specialize in playing basketball on the football pitch. And you also know that I have been crying out for some periods of control on the ball, just so that our players can take a breather both mentally and physically, and then go again against the opposition. Well, for the first time in flipping ages, it looked like Ten Hag and the players actually wanted to keep the ball when they got the chance, and not just hoof it forward every single time. And I thought we did this pretty well in the first half of that game, as evidenced with this clip from the first 10 minutes right after Rashford scored. We start with Mainoo here on the ball inside our own half while surrounded by 3 City players here. As we play it along, Mainoo plays it forward to Rashford on the left wing, who is again surrounded by City players very quickly in a tight space, which means he has to get rid of it pretty quickly. And that's exactly what he does by playing it back to Lindelof here, who lays it off to Casemiro quickly, who plays it forward to McTominay quickly, and that gets United free from the 5-man City press on the left-hand side over here. Now, as McTominay plays it to Dalot on the right-hand side, look at how much space United have on the right side of the pitch. With just a few accurate passes that we just witnessed, United were able to beat City's counter press on the left-hand side, and now have options to play Garnacho in behind on the right-hand side, or even just keep the ball for a few more seconds before they have to run around in circles defending against City. Now, as Bruno receives the ball and they play it around a little bit between Garnacho and Bruno, and he takes his second touch here, look at how City have shifted all the way to the right-hand side of the pitch here with 6 City players now attacking the ball. And now, instead of hoofing the ball forward again like Bruno always does, he plays it back for a relatively safe pass to Varane here, and Varane looks to keep the ball and rotate again. So this forces City to get back into their defensive shape, and United players get a few more seconds to breathe on the ball and regain their composure. And in case you're wondering, it has already been 18 in-game seconds since this play started, and United haven't lost the ball yet, which is practically unheard of this season. Now, as Varane plays this ball back to Onana and just outside his box, look at how wide United have made the pitch right here. Onana has at least 4 passing options here, while City have all of this ground to cover if they want to win the ball back. It actually appears as if United have some semblance of control over this game. So United play around the back a little bit more, and naturally City have to move their defensive line up further if they're trying to win the ball back or make it difficult for United to keep possession. So as that happens, notice how Onana still has 3 passes he can make, with Dalot on the right hand side over here, Lindelof and Rashford or whoever's on the left wing at the time who can drop deep and get the ball there. Now, you could look at this phase of play and say, oh, look, United can't even get out of their own box, but that would be an extremely basic analysis of the situation. Because drawing City further up the pitch is exactly what United want in this game. Our game plan was to hit City on the break, so the more they push their defensive line up, the more space there is for Rashford and Garnacho in behind. So as Onana finds Dalot on the right hand side over here, United have actually already gone past City's first line of defense, the front 4. And they're now 7v6 in terms of outfield players if Dalot can make something happen here. And again, this has now been 31 seconds of in-game possession for United. It sounds really stupid to keep bringing this up, but it's important to note because United have been so impatient on the ball this entire season that 31 seconds seems crazy. Now, as Dalot plays this forward to Garnacho, it's kind of hard for United to get out because City are so well organized. But again, this is exactly my point. Instead of just playing hoofball against arguably the best team in the world, the most organized team in the world, United are actually showing some patience and keeping the ball, making City work for it a little bit. So Garnacho is forced to go backwards and he lays it off to Onana once he dribbles a little bit over here. And Garnacho steps into midfield. Again, Onana has several passing options in this situation. It has been about 40 seconds of in-game possession for United now, and City can't really do anything unless we make a mistake or hoof it long. And I thought United did this pretty well throughout the first half and certain periods of the second half as well. So you might be wondering, why am I glorifying 40 seconds of possession in a game where we got battered eventually? It's because United have been absolutely woeful on the ball throughout the season. And to get this team with players like Bruno, Casemiro, and Rashford to actually keep the ball even for short spells of time is actually nuts. So in my humble opinion, Ten Hag deserves some credit for the 26% possession that we managed in the game. Because based on the evidence I've seen all season, I was expecting us to have 10 or 15% possession all game. Because yeah, that's how bad United have been this season in terms of keeping the ball. Marcus Rashford scored an absolute worldie today that would have been goal of the season had Garnacho's not scored that screamer against Everton. And I'll be honest, I was really pleased for the guy given all the stick he's been getting recently from the fans, the media, and even from me, to be honest, because he just hasn't been good enough this season. But after that goal, his performance for the rest of that game can only be described as Dan James-esque. I'm serious, he was just a fast and agile winger that was there to run in behind. And I get that that was the game plan, but when he had a decision to make on the ball, he absolutely shit the bed like he's been doing all season. In fact, I think Dan James might have done better than Rashford on the one-on-one he had against Walker, and even on the volley that he fluffed in the 23rd minute or so. Go ahead, prove me wrong. Come at me as hard as you want in the comments down below, but I'm not having it any other way. He's one of the best paid players at our club, and certainly one of the highest paid players in the league. He is supposed to be Manchester born and bred, so he's supposed to understand the significance of the game more than anybody else. And he's getting subbed off in the 75th minute in a Manchester derby. That was just embarrassing from Rashford today, honestly. I know he came out with his little interview talking about don't question my love for the club and all this bullshit, but nobody is questioning your love for the club. People are questioning whether you are good enough or not. And from the evidence that we've seen all season, it looks like you were just playing for the contract last year. And I'm serious, name me one player in the last 20 years that is as high profile as Marcus Rashford while being as one-dimensional as Marcus Rashford. Seriously, the minute he has to think about passing, dribbling, or shooting, he makes the wrong decision. Only when he does things instinctively, he ends up getting a goal or an assist. Just like that goal today. No time to think, just put your laces through a pass from Bruno that is at the edge of the box. So, Ten Hag deserves some credit for having to rely on someone like Rashford as his talisman, as his main guy in big games like today. Honestly, I thought Bruno, McTominay, Mainu, Casemiro, and our entire backline executed Ten Hag's game plan to perfection in that first half. And we could have easily scored 2 or 3 goals from that game plan had Rashford just shown some quality, shown anything about himself to show up in this game. And don't get me wrong, Garnacho didn't have a great game, Antony is a waste of space, but we're not expecting either of them to come in and save the day. Garnacho's just 19 and we overpaid for Antony by about £60 million. But Marcus Rashford, as a senior Man United player who's come from the academy, to be that bad in a Manchester derby is just inexcusable. So if I was Rashford today, after that game, after that performance, I'd be having a long look in the mirror. And then I would go fire my PR team because he needs to just shut the hell up and go back to the basics. At 26 years old, it is still not too late to save your career and become a decent player for a great club. Because if you keep going down this path, you will be laughed at by United fans when you eventually hang up your boots. And you do not want to be like that, my friend. So Ten Hag deployed his regular 4-2-3-1 shape today, but played Bruno as the striker with McTominay as the number 10. And I think it's fair to say that we were all a little surprised by this decision because he could have just played Rashford as the striker like he normally does. But he didn't, and it actually worked pretty well today. We started out in this 4-2-3-1 that you see here, but out of possession, it functioned more like a 4-2-2-2, with Fernandes and McTominay being the furthest forward players, pressing the City backline and Ederson when it was necessary. And this whole setup worked really well because of one main reason. If you've been watching United all season, you'll know that we have been horrendous defensively. Not just in terms of conceding tons of goals, but also conceding the second most shots on our goal just after bottom of the table Sheffield United. And a big cause of all of these defensive issues has been our porous midfield. In United's normal transitional football style of play, we usually have Casemiro and Bruno Fernandes playing long balls in behind to players like Rashford on the left, Højlund through the middle, and Garnacho on the right-hand side. And when these long balls are played, we naturally have big spaces between our forward line and our midfield line because all three of these guys are trying to get behind those balls. Now, once these long balls are played to these guys, they obviously need some support in order to break down the defense maybe a little bit further. So our midfielders will tend to join them in these spaces over here. And in most normal teams, they'll try to retain the ball in these areas till the defense also has some time to push forward and make a compact shape as a team, right? You'll have all of these players push up to the halfway line and that's your setup. But United's passing and style of play is so erratic in the final third that usually we'll lose the ball either with the first pass when there's big spaces between our forwards and our midfielders, or with the second pass when the midfield has had a chance to push forward, but the defense hasn't had a chance to push forward yet. So this is usually what our team looks like, which is our defenders still being way back here and our midfielders being further forward. So there's these massive spaces that players like Haaland, KDB, Bernardo Silva, Doku, and Foden can all exploit. And this is exactly what Jamie Carragher was showing you with his expert analysis on Monday Night Football. Unfortunately, we don't have that kind of budget, but we have seen this all season. We don't need Jamie Carragher to show us this stuff because it's been obvious all season long. So to solve the issue of the big spaces that we just talked about, Ten Hag limited the number of players that would be out of position, so to speak, by only having 2 players running in behind in Garnacho and Rashford, instead of having a third in Højlund, and he had 1 extra player in midfield in McTominay, who can play or likes to play that safe 5-yard pass to ensure we keep the ball instead of just hoofing it forward every time. So both of these changes, having Bruno as the false 9 and McTominay in the number 10 position, meant that on the counterattack we had a clear outball on each side of the pitch. So Rashford had all of this space to exploit by himself, and Garnacho had all of this space to exploit by himself, which meant we only had 2 players attacking the space in behind. Which meant we had 2 players attacking the space in behind and 1 extra player keeping the team shape more compact. Look, now City still had 3.33 XG from 27 shots today, but that could have been a lot worse had we played like we did against Fulham, Forest, or Wolves on the opening day of the season. Look, I'm not saying that Ten Hag deserves a 5-year contract off the back of that performance. Far from it. We got battered today, and City deserved to win with the scoreline that they did. They could have gotten more goals as well. But let's be honest, not a lot of teams go to the Etihad and win games. Most teams struggle to even keep City quiet for more than 50 minutes like we did today. So for us, as poor as we have been this season, to go to the Etihad and stay in the game till the 80th minute when Foden scored his second goal was an actual miracle. We can't sit here and talk about the history of our great club and the standards that Sir Alex set, because we haven't been that club for a long time. We need to realize that from the chief executive to the director of football to the owners of our club has been rotting from the inside for more than 10 years. And Ten Hag is the natural fall guy for all of these idiots that exist at our club, just like every other manager has been before him. He has been put in charge of a sinking ship, and today was yet another failed attempt at staying afloat. We as fans need to realize that sacking Ten Hag will take us backwards, because a new manager will come in and want to spend another 300 million to bring in his players, and we'll be back to square one. We have to make it work with Ten Hag, at least till we are comfortably getting top 4 every season, and then we can talk about competing for the title. Right now, we are just not ready as a squad and as a club to compete for the big honors. So in the meantime, we have to find ways to praise the positives that we see from Ten Hag and the players, like I tried to do in this video. Let me know if you guys agree in the comments down below. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.